I gotta pay. Like, what do you think we're rolling in dough? This is daycare, not like we're not starting a crazy business. We're not going to be making a bunch of money. We're not going to have a huge profit because we're not ripping off families with tuition. And we could. Some childcares do that, but we're not. That's not our vibe. We're trying to provide accessible childcare, but also quality.
Sarah Song and Noelani Acosta spend a large amount of their day surrounded by kids. Some still in diapers and some a little more independent.
Our program is like an outdoor-based program, so we let the children explore and play outside all day, and then they just go inside for nap time.
They are home childcare providers. Their business is at Sarah's house in National City.
We do feed them their two meals, so breakfast and lunch, and then snack. We also provide diapers and wipes for the families, so they don't have to bring them every day.
They can only take 12 kids, and they'd like to provide care to more.
We're open from 6 to 6, so very long hours, especially since I don't have kids of my own. So I'm literally like just taking care of kids for 12 hours. But, you know, that's the need. And honestly, I have people that ask for more hours.
Sarah has a long wait list of families looking for care.
I haven't had a problem enrolling. If anything, I've had a problem having to turn down families all the time, mostly because there's a lot of infant care need, and you can only have, and we were full with infants, but you can only have 4 at a time. So there's only so much you could do.
Sarah and Noelani charge $1,200 a month for each child, $1,400 for infants. If they can expand, they could bring in more staff and make a livable wage. But expanding has been a lot harder than they expected.
Finding a place, it's so hard. And then also to get people to take us seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I think that as soon as they hear like a childcare facility or daycare facility, like real estate agents, tenant, what are they called? Tenant representatives, even like managers for like properties, even owners. We've talked to a few like owners of properties. They're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're not gonna do a daycare facility because that's just a lot of work.
But Sarah says it's work that someone needs to do. She wants to expand in her neighborhood in National City. The rejections are really frustrating.
Yes, but sir, you're contributing here to the problem. Like, someone has to put in the work to have this accessible to people. So that's the biggest hurdle. They're just like, yeah, no, it's going to be too hard. Childcare has a lot of requirements. Well, yes, because to keep kids safe.
So they could come across the perfect property. But before signing a lease, things like sprinklers need to be brought up to code. Those things cost money and take time.
Well, we don't have like thousands of dollars to just be like, well, it might work out. Let me give you 3 months rent and we'll see if it works out. Because that's what a regular, like let's pretend a Chick-fil-A, they could do that. They could be like, well, we'll do a short-term lease, 3 months, 6 months, and we'll try to get the building up and running. But we can't do that. We don't have that.
So while providers struggle to expand, parents struggle to find care. Miren Algori has been a childcare provider for 20 plus years.
The cost of living has increased. Now we see more parents having to rejoin or join the workforce right after having their baby. So we get countless phone calls and emails from parents needing childcare services for infants and toddlers, infants as young as 13 days, and parents are looking for childcare services as soon as possible.
Miren says the childcare workforce is shrinking.
It's not growing because no one wants to join a workforce that does not pay a livable wage.
And if nothing is done to support the ones still standing, that's a disaster for parents.
And I would love for the community to really, and for the elected officials to really come together and look into this issue that is so crucial because it hinders the economy, the local economy, the state economy. It hinders the U.S. economy if we don't support parents so they can go to work. I know of military members who had to retire, who had to leave their careers because they didn't have childcare services.
So Algori has added a second job to her plate, organizing home care providers to lobby the government to pay for childcare.
And I know people get tired of hearing, oh, it's about investment, it's about subsidizing. But it boils down to truly investing where investment is needed. And of course, it boils down to universal childcare. Parents should not be put on that bind of having to decide whether to put a roof above their child's head or to have childcare services so they can go to work.
Childcare, sometimes we call it a root cause issue because it is part of course, parents being able to work, and working parents are a core part of the workforce for our economy.
Laura Cohn is the Vice President of Care and Education at Mission Driven Finance.
It's a core social justice issue because the providers of care in the United States have been under-supported and often are providing care out of a sense of mission and commitment, but at a compensation level that isn't equal to the important role that they're playing both in the nurturing of the children and in the functioning of our economy. And it even stretches into environmental issues. When we have parents driving all over the place to get their kids to appropriate care, that's not ideal for the environment. So it's a root cause issue across many different domains.
Laura's firm invests money in ways that have social impact. One focus is childcare.
We had the big insight that investors could be invited to invest in the underlying real estate of childcare, and that would feel comfortable to investors. They're used to owning real estate in their portfolios. The risk is pretty low. Like I can count on that real estate still having value a few years from now. And so it feels like a good bet to the investor to invest in real estate, while at the same time providing a solution to the care providers.
Investors give them money to buy sites that are good for childcare, with a big family room and yard, in neighborhoods where childcare is needed.
Properties that we can tell will be ideal for childcare, renovate them to be childcare ideal, and then lease them to the providers as a childcare friendly landlord.
They want sites in childcare deserts, where families have few options for care. It took more than a year, but finally some success.
Our first house is in Lemon Grove. We're also looking at Southeast San Diego, Spring Valley, La Mesa, sort of a chunk of southeastern San Diego County that shows up as a childcare desert.
The Lemon Grove house is only for one provider. When renovations are done, she can run a childcare center there and eventually have the opportunity to buy it. Of course, many other providers are still looking.
Well, both of us grew up poor. So we want it accessible for people like us who live down here in the south. What is it that I say?
Nash
South of the 8?
Yeah.
South of the 8. What is it? 94.
South of
94 and south. That's where we grew up.
Sarah and Noelani are still looking for a bigger spot in their neighborhood.
But how could someone who lives and works down here drive their kid up to I don't know, Tierra Santa or, Serra Mesa or wherever these childcare centers are? And pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's literally impossible. So we want to make sure there's an option that's more similar to what are available up northern San Diego, or central and north San Diego, down here in the south.
But with very little support, providers like Sarah and Noelani are left with very few options and a very long wait list of parents looking for care.